Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This simple brazed tip carbide turning tool has been giving me basically the best results that I've been getting on my lathe, just because I can make it a really fine point. So it has very little tool pressure. But this thing is probably about halfway gone almost, and I think I'm going to make a replacement. And I think I'm going to add a couple special features. I'm going to give this one I'm making extra back rake and extra side rake, just so it's really free cutting and really aggressive. So let's get into that. For the main body of this, I'm just using a piece of 1/2-inch key stock. Take a look through my random carbide box here, and there's a piece I already have cut off that's going to be just about perfect. Just want to get these thin little edges where it broke off as I was cutting it apart. I'm going to get them off, and then I'm going to put one real big nice radius on one edge, because the back of my seat is going to have a decent radius on it, and I want to sit down in there nice and flat. That should do. I'm going to go off camera for a little bit here. I'm going to make the setup for putting the carbide seat in here, and then we'll come back and explain what we've done once it's all set up. I've got my spindle dialed 90 degrees to the travel of the table, and I've got my pulleys changed over from real slow that I was running the diamonds. Now we're going at the same speed as the motor, 3450. I've got our tool bit body in my universal work holding fixture, and I have it set for 5 degrees back rake and also 5 degrees side rake. And so we're going to dress this wheel up, and then we're going to grind that tooth seat into this body. The 5 degree back rake means we're going to start hitting back here well before here, and the 5 degree side rake means we're going to be hitting here well before here. So what we should expect to see is first touch right about here, and that should move basically at a 45 degree angle all the way across, and then we'll bring it to the depth. I don't feel the need to make the carbide flush with the top of this. There's plenty of adjustment in my tool holder on the lathe for this to be lowered. So I'm just going to get in there a decent bit, and I'm just going to basically do it until I'm happy with the way it looks. We are just touching. I'm plunging downward with the wheel as I travel back and forth. So this is coming along. Now, I honestly am not well set up with wheels for grinding softer metals like this. As a result, you can see my wheel here is really badly plugged. It's just plugged right up, right full of chunks of metal from this soft, mild steel tool bit body. So I'm going to dress this up, and we're going to carry on and bring this to finished depth. Because of having to dress my wheel, my distance here is gone, but that's easy for me to get back. I'll just bring my wheel up higher than the surface I'm grinding, come in over top of it, come down real close to it, but not touching, and then travel inwards until I touch the existing surface. Right there. And carry on coming down. So I'm happy with that for depth of seat. And now there's a few more features I want to put on this. I've got some pretty big burrs rolling off of here, so I'm just going to give this a quick deburr before I carry on so I can see what material I'm actually wanting to work on here. Now that I'm done with that seat area, for now I'm going to bring everything back to zero here. And for this next move, I want to relieve the end of the body behind where the cutting edge is going to be. So I'm going to give that some clearance. And I'm also going to want some clearance in this direction. This time I'm putting a 5-degree back clearance on here and a 5-degree back clearance on here. So in this case, we're going to hit this corner first, and we're going to work our way across, sort of like we did before, until eventually we reach here. Now I've got to switch all this around. I want one last clearance, and that's going to be on this side, which will sort of be the leading edge. I'm going to want to give it probably 5 degrees clearance this way. I may even give it 5 degrees this way. I would prefer if this tool could do turning and facing in one setup. So yeah, I am going to go ahead and give it 5 degrees this way and 5 degrees this way. For speed of setup, I've actually got this tool bit body in upside down now, but that just means I'm reversing the angles. It's kind of hard to explain, but with this upside down, all the angles are backwards to the way I want them. It's going to work out fine. Well, there's our tool bit body with all of its, essentially all the features it's going to end up with, minus the carbide. Of course, the carbide is going to go right on there, and then it's going to get all these same angles, both clearance, a rake, and so on. I've got my parts all sandblasted here, all nice and clean, ready to accept solder. I think what I'm going to do is start by getting my solder on the carbide, and then we'll get the carbide on the tool body. Generous amount of flux. Get that everywhere that we want bonded. I'm going to heat it kind of slowly so that all the flux doesn't just jump away as the water evaporates, turns to steam. There, it's getting sticky now. I can put my solder on. That's pretty decent. Solder's on most of the surface. I can live with that. Ooh. Oh.
Butter side down.
Of course. See, the solder just took. You can see it creeping up onto here. Pretty safe to say it's everywhere now. We're all cooled down now, and you can tell the solder's gone absolutely everywhere. So we should have a real decent bond here. Going to put this back in the sandblaster, clean it up, and then we'll start working on all our various angles. So we're set up now to start grinding our carbide back in all the various angles that we want. I have a 200 grit wheel in here now. And again, this bit is upside down because I'm working on the edge that was easier to get by doing this. I will be grinding off the cutting edge, but that's fine because the very last thing we're going to do is we're going to come face the entire top. And so any roughness this creates will be taken away later. So I'm happy with that first angle, gonna set up for the next angle. Next setup's ready to go here. What I'm doing now is I want to put the tiniest little 45-degree break on that corner just to make it a bit more durable. This could be a radius, but I plan on sharpening this regularly, and honestly the time it takes to put a radius on is pretty excessive. So I think in actual practice I'm going to be using this till it's dull and then giving it a real quick hand bomb on a diamond wheel, and that 45 will be something I can recreate quick and easy every time, just by hand, without hours of setup. What I'm wanting to see now is, as I put this little 45 on here, I've set up so that, and I'd like it to be an equal width all the way from top to bottom, at least-ish. So that's what I'm hoping for here. There's that little 45. It's pretty decently consistent from top to bottom, pretty much what I was hoping for. It's only about 3 thou, so it's very minimal, but it will add a lot of strength to that corner. So this is my last setup now. I'm just getting this. I'm going to actually dial off of this face, and I'm going to hit that with a real fine wheel. So what I'll probably do is I'll get it dialed in, I'll clean it up with this wheel, which is a coarser wheel. And then once I know I'm all cleaned up, I'm going to put a super fine 600 grit diamond wheel on there just to really polish it up and give it that last little bit of sharpness. What I've done here is I've got my wheel below center because I don't want to be grinding off on any of my cutting edges. So I'm grinding down onto this sort of the main cutting edge. I'm also ever so slightly grinding back into this edge. So that'll just stop this edge from blowing out any. If my wheel was way up high and the wheel was coming off like that, that would have the opposite effect, and I could be blowing little chunks out of that cutting edge. So now I'm going to hit this with the super fine wheel, the finest wheel I have. Just for reference, I want to show what our sharpness looks like at this point in time. And I'm getting a real nice flay, pretty much effortlessly. I just want to see how that feels when I get the real fine wheel on here. And so here we go with the very final operation, the 600 grit wheel. Now this wheel isn't actually going to do a ton of cutting, it's just going to kind of polish. So I'm going to touch off very carefully. I don't want to create big curved lead-ins on this thing. I want it to be super nice and flat. And because this wheel is very non-aggressive, I have to come through here with a very, very light cut and then follow it through with lots of back and forth just to sort of clean it up, dingle it out. This wheel plugs like crazy. I can just see I can almost see my reflection in the buildup of superfine carbide on there. there's pretty much our completed tool bit. I think I'm going to enjoy having this in my collection. This guy will allow me to face without running into interference issues, as well as turn pretty much all, you know, without moving my tool post around. That's something I've been longing for. It does have a very, very fine polished surface to it, and it's very sharp. It's nice and sharp. It's kind of hard to show sharp on a camera, but you're gonna have to trust me on this one, guys and girls. That's sharp. Well, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this little Brazed tip carbide turning tool build. See you in the next one.